Hey,
Hi.
hey there.
Hello.
Austin, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty great.
Oh my
Um,
God.
there certainly is no Wandolio. Where is Wandolio? Where did it go?
Who
Do you
Wandoli
know?
knows?
Oh. No, I'm doing all right. I'm having a good time. I'm excited to chat with the team later and get all the new shenanigans that we've talked about going. Will's going nuts in the chat. I'm excited to talk to Will again. I haven't talked to Will in forever.
I haven't talked to Will in 11 years.
What up, Atharva? How you doing? What up, Jonathan? Glad to see you as well. Jonathan even gave a happy Monday. Bold choice.
Oh, happy
Bold
Monday to
choice.
you.
And Atharva's coming in hot. He's like, I asked this question last stream, and y'all didn't answer it. You said you do it on a different episode, so what's your dream? So with that, I'll say, sorry, we'll talk about it tomorrow, because we already have a full show planned for today. Sorry. But y'all be excited. We will be chatting all about the most recent client project that we did today. We're going to be breaking some things down, chatting about how the project went, the like whole process, including the like upfront pre-production and all that stuff. It's going to be great. There's a conference opener for conference opener for Keller Williams. That is a tough thing to say all at once.
It's
Conference opener for Keller Williams.
Williams.
And it's going to be good. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's one of our favorite projects that we've made so far, by far. It's going to be a good time. Let's all do it. Will says, bro, I've been isolated. It's been hard watching all of my bestest friends in the Caribbean. Same, dude. It's been so hard watching my bestest friend in the same lounge / kitchen in the UK while we were all in the Caribbean.
Yeah, I concur. I agree with that. Austin,
Hashtag sad.
would you like to go ahead and pull up the video so people know what they're getting into?
Of course I would. And you know what? You'll be so glad. I already have it pulled up. And for when we do critiques, link in the description to get your work critiqued, by the way, and Rex, I already have those grouped by tab. I am so organized this morning. It's crazy.
You are so organized this morning.
And I'm already screen sharing.
That's fantastic.
Before you even joined. It's great. With that being said, here we are. This is what we will be reviewing today. We wrapped this project, I want to say, what, like 3 weeks ago? Maybe 2.5 at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But here it is. Here it is. Conference opener for Keller Williams. Goal was to get people hype and excited for this event. Oh, sorry. That's not HD. Whoops.
Uh-oh.
There we go. I don't know about you, but this is a little bit too much excitement for me on a Monday morning. I don't know about you.
I'm gonna pass out over
I'm
here.
just gonna fall away. Jeez.
Anyway.
Atharva also says, also please tell us how much you took. I don't know if that means time or money, but on the money front, I'm not gonna give a specific number because we have talked about who the brand is, and that would not be cool. Sorry, but that's how these things go. We could give a range. It is between $0 and $100,000.
$1 billion.
Could be anywhere in between there. Up to you to decide where, but it's in there somewhere.
That's right. It was $15.
And as far as time goes, man, we really need to get better at tracking like just overall hours on Toggle or something for people, because when you know who asked for that other project we were doing, I was completely stumped on what to answer for a second. But I don't know. I feel like in just like calendar time, this probably took 4 weeks altogether ish.
I'd agree with that. The timeline on this one was pretty generous, so we didn't
really have to rush a whole lot.
Yeah, because we were working on another pretty intense thing at the same time.
We even got 2 projects done for
it.
Keller, including this one at the same time.
And then we also did another project for Keller during this. So this was like a pretty lax timeline, so we didn't take... I would say like in total working, it was probably about 4 weeks.
Yeah. And I mean, it really was pretty lax. Like, I mean, we did storyboarding for this really, really early storyboard passes in like late December or something. Cause I remember doing it while I was in Texas. My
Yeah, and I
like
was
couple
in
scenes for that.
I was in Arkansas of all places.
Yeah. So it was like mid December, like around the holidays. We did a couple things to start with. And then, actual anime, I think we had a storyboard approved within like the first week of January. So like as soon as we got back, storyboard approval, with like a couple changes that we'll get into, because there were some pretty funny ones that we got this time.
Do you have your little sketchbook with you?
I don't. Did I sketch anything for this? I don't think I
You
did.
did. Or I guess you sketched it online. Forgot.
Oh yes, I did. And boy, did they look fun. But anyway, we'll go into that stuff. But we
We're gonna mess
probably
up right now.
started animating on this like mid-January or something, and it was a pretty fast animation cycle. I'd say we had a full first pass that they were pretty happy with, minus one scene, within like a week. We really booked it, and I don't know, review strong. I don't know what to tell you. It just worked. So
Be quick with it.
that all being said, we'll watch it one more time just so we have a little bit more context, and then we'll get into all the nitty gritty details and such, shall we? Also, fun fact, this isn't even the last version of this opener at this very beginning. We forgot to change it in the final export. Dun, dun, dun. Who animated each of these so we can give him major props? Major props reporting for duty. Msetti did these first bits, these little line guys here. It was originally, oh man, when we show you guys some of these scenes that we just had to completely axe from the video, holy shit, we had some really cool ones. But anyway, Msetti did these first bits. I did this thing, which normally would be something done by Sam. I'm surprised that I ended up doing these. But anyway, I did these two scenes. Sam did this one as well as this one, this tunnel here. And then Barbara just came out of fucking nowhere. It took like a good amount of R&D, but this scene is easily one of my favorites since she did this whole sequence here. This one was Noah. This was also Noah. And then Will did these last arrow scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So all to say, flex on everybody. Everybody really showed their best on this one. That being said, let's go to V1 of this storyboard, shall we? Which was
I already had it pulled up.
Oh, well, don't you worry. I can switch over to you if you'd like, if you want to go on through it.
Sure.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
And it did say that this was December 23rd of 2022. So it was like 2 days before Christmas. We had all this put together.
So this project started with, it was pretty ambiguous in terms of like it didn't have a script. We had a basic storyboard that we could go off of, but we kind of wanted to do our own thing. So we took ideas and concepts and vibes from that and pushed it into sort of what you see now. We started by doing just some, what was it? Just sort of like R&D, but without much more direction than like, let's take these general concepts of like having a hero shape and diamonds and moving forward and arrows and make some scenes that we think would be very cool, because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of the project was to get people excited, to get people hyped for this thing.
Right.
So we're like, well, let's just start at the meat of it. Yeah. And so we sat down and we just came up with some pretty scenes. Do you have yours? Because I'm not seeing it on the storyboard, but here are
my what?
some of like that very first one.
They were there because I'll pull it up. I'm pretty sure they're on a different set of boards.
Like I was sketching arrows and stuff, as you can see in my lovely little sketchbook. And Austin was using Illustrator and
Yeah, I got mine pulled up. I actually.
oh, show me.
Here you go. So we went through our normal motion scripting pass, and I was just using boards for what people use boards for, as in like just like drawing on the frames with my mouse. And so some of these look terrible, but this was the first one that I actually like put together. And my fault. I ended up making this very geometric thing that looked pretty cool because it was all black and white. But then when we tried to translate it to color, it was kind of difficult to keep the same concept originally. Took some R&D on that. But anyway, there are some really funny looking shots in here just because of like having to try and explain this shit in boards so that we would at least kind of remember what the scenes were. Which most of these didn't even make it through. We actually had a lot of motion scripting that went through on this one. But anyway, sorry, continue with what you were saying. But there's those.
And so from those, we put together a basic motion board, and then in multiple different styles. And we did this bit pretty fast, so we didn't really spend a lot of time making the style perfect, because there were kind of just a couple different general directions we could kind of head in. So we just quickly knocked out some basic kind of stuff, and everyone just took a section, did it in a sort of different style. And so I'll go through this first section. Can you tell? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. I think Austin did his pretty quickly because he was also in Texas.
That was also on my laptop, and I tossed them together in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I had some fun with mine, more on these guys, but this scene right here, I'm gonna go through this. This concept didn't make it into the video, obviously, but it was
in full screen?
very cool. I'm gonna click it.
Right.
Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Click. So we start with this grid. The grid did make it in, but the rest of it didn't. And so these like pixels light up, and then we shift into this like 3D perspective, which was not fun to make in Illustrator. And one moves up, and it's like it sort of turns into a little matchstick guy. We zoom out, he's in a little ring, and he spins around and lights on fire and reveals this like little hero image. This was the original hero. It was a little spiky guy. And we then opted for something that's more obviously and apparently a star. And anyway, we have this little match in this ring, and then the match falls forward towards the camera and lights this guy on fire. And he like comes alive, and he like zips about. And that was that first little scene that didn't make it in. But some fun style frames right here. I like this one a lot. Just some neat little stuff. The actual general shape of the star that's lit did kind of stay the same. It just didn't end up with this like textury fire, which would have been a little bit of a nightmare to make. But
would have also been really cool looking.
Still pretty cool looking. We had this hero scene that was interpreted by a different person.
That was Sam, I think.
Yeah. We tossed in a lot of their brand elements on these guys, which
that was a huge pain point.
Yeah, we were trying to like incorporate these like smooth gradients and lines with their sort of textury styles, which we ended up finding a kind of balance at the beginning and the end, more so than incorporating it all throughout the video. But here on these first style frames, as we were going kind of quick, we were just pushing them in and seeing how just the general forms of them fit.
Mm-hmm.
We're going.
How you doing? Oh, and here,
going.
How you doing?
And Austin's, we have a Darkness Flash, We got that same tunnel scene.
Big Balls, Tiny Hero. My nickname in high
Hero.
school.
Damn right. This tube scene, which became not a tube.
No
We'll
tubes.
get to that.
I did like it though. It's this fun little glass thing, and
yeah,
it was
and
fun.
And then it broke, and that would be kind of cool. And they were tossed up, and then they like fell down and hit this ground, which became a sort of like hill and stuff when it was reimagined. The light stayed the same. This is just a simplified version of that. You can kind of see where it was going. And then arrows, they did not like the style.
No,
And so we were like,
we
that's
didn't.
fair. I
We
don't
didn't really either. Yeah.
But we thought we'd toss it out anyway.
What up, raise
And
tag
then
then?
end card. And that was the very first version of that storyboard.
But V2
There's-
though.
V2 improved a
Yum
lot.
yum 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 yum.
Yum, yum, yum,
Yum,
yum, yum. We
yum.
still had these guys in there just with color now.
But they're
Look
cool
at
looking
that.
because him said he put some 3D in there.
Look at
and,
that.
like,
That's
yum.
sexy right
Yum,
there, dude.
guys.
I'm
Yum.
gonna add some more color on
Like,
these.
look at that thing.
Like, that would be just
Come
cool,
on.
man.
Come on.
Come on, look at that. And then we have this.
I like how it turned
which
out
kinda
better.
stayed similar.
But I agreed with their feedback on the like too rainbowy, you know? Even though
Yeah,
they had those colors in the arrows and things, you know?
It was pretty rainbowy. We still had the tube in this version with just more color. This is where the mountain starts to emerge. These guys stayed pretty similar.
Delicious.
Barbara added these like cool pillars to this scene. Shout out to Barbara for that.
Shouts out to Barbara.
Added some fun depth. And then these were the first versions of these arrows, which were too rainbowy.
But also
Which
kind
I
of
can see
looking
that.
creamier than the ones we ended up using, and I kind of
They do
like
look kinda
these creamy arrows.
The creamy arrows are.
That's a good band name.
And then the final. And then we'll just jump to the third.
But let's
Pretty-
Can you spot the difference? Uh-oh, where the hell did half the scenes go?
Uh-oh.
Well, you see, that was our first piece of feedback when we sent the video over, or the storyboard over. They were like, actually, we just don't. They'd rather us just like get right into the action immediately. So we just removed half of the storyboard that we did, and we're like, all right, let's roll with this and make it more cinematic, I guess. But that was also the time where we got the first feedback about the fallopian tubes. Dun dun dun.
So you can see there's not a tube, it's more of a wormhole now.
In which they still thought looked too much like. I'll leave this up to you. Tossing it up.
Women's
Tossing it up
reproductive
to you.
system.
There you go.
There you go. And I can kind of see it. You know how corporations are. You gotta step carefully. And so we also reimagined it again into the final version, which was just not a tube, just speed lines and stuff.
No tubes here,
As
just
you
lines.
saw.
Nothing to see here.
And if you didn't see it at the beginning, we'll probably watch it again at the end. And all this stuff is generally the same. This bit was reimagined as all these lines kind of became part of the hero. The hero itself was pretty interesting to animate. I'll pull that file up in a secchi. These were more simplified. And that was the boards, really. You can see it kind of stayed pretty close to these apart from the tube scene. As we moved forward into animation.
That tube scene really was the only thing that we had to deal with feedback-wise on the storyboard. Everything else is pretty much just like, hey, generally the colors are too rainbowy, to which we're like, okay, no more blues and greens for you. And then they were fine with it. This, by far, was one of those projects where we just gave them a first draft and they're like, this is amazing. We love this. Like they had barely any feedback to give on every single round of this. I think we went through really like one round of full revisions on the animation, and it was only with like 1 or 2 scenes, and then the rest of it was just like tiny little small accent things. It was pretty great. Guess that happens when you work with a company a lot. And they just kind of start to trust you with these things, because most of their branding, I mean, I don't have those materials pulled up at the moment, but was really leaning into that sketchy arrow style, and they like this graffiti grunge sort of thing going on. And so for them to give us the trust to just do the gradient thing and make them something that was just like, wow, this looks like what we have, but just like an elevated version that's perfect for this opener, is really fun to be able to have that sort of relationship with a client.
It is, absolutely. As you can see, this project is kind of large at 7,000 pixels across and
But
2,100 tall.
that is way smaller than this was originally going to be. We had given them a completely different price point at the beginning because what was the aspect ratio going to be? It was like 21,000. No,
That's gonna be really
it's like
wide.
23,000 by 2160 or something. It was ridiculous. It was like a 10-to-1 aspect ratio. And we were like, okay, it'll be this much. And they're like, what? This much? Can we just do it for this much and just have it be like a third of the size? And we were like, okay, sounds good.
They're saying. As you can see, this is my little star friend. He is posterized time after outside of this pre-comp, so he is more like jittery and looks more sketchy, which is why these lines look a little smooth. Looks kind of like a jellyfish. And there were some of the little things done to him, but I will go into what the hell is happening here really quickly, because it looks strange. So we have nulls. We have all these lines are like trim paths and masked to a turbulent noise, which can be found down here, I think. No, that's the dissolve. Yeah, there it is. Line texture. This is the line texture that those guys are masked into, which is posterized. And so those lines are alpha masked into that. They have some trim paths on them, and then also they have their points to nulls, and then those nulls are attached to, some of those nulls are attached to some other nulls that drag a little bit behind when the actual hero itself moves. And so I think we have this hero null. You can see its main path. And then we have some other nulls that kind of follow behind. This one's just the hero null, but offset a little bit. So that these nulls that control the little spirally lines drag behind a little bit. They have some delay so that it feels like kind of weighty as it moves around like that. And then we have some dissolve and some glows and some bright little things that kind of spin around in the center. And that's basically it. It's just a bunch of lines and some star shapes. But it was fun to kind of concept for how I was gonna make that. That's how the hero is done.
Okay, it says Noah chose to see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I really did. This is not the best way of doing this. Absolutely not. It's probably pretty slow, but it was how it made sense to my mind, so I did it.
But the important part is that it worked regardless of how jank it is.
Absolutely. Jankness sometimes just be the way to go. Is there any other bits of the project that you want to dive into specifically?
I mean, my section was pretty straightforward, and I don't have the other team's brains to know how they did some things, but we can generally just, I don't know, give it up to chat for a second to be like, what do you want to know about with this?
Right. That was a question for all of y'all.
It's a question for everybody in the chat. I will switch back over to my tab and just kind of let this play, and then we can discuss
pretty straightforward
each part of this. Trim paths, easy peasy stuff. This is just a bunch of shapes with clever masks and things with gradients moving around. In hindsight, I absolutely should have done Colorama for this transition, but instead I just animated all of the gradients and stuff.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite scenes I've ever designed, but also pretty simple. I mean, we went and, well, I didn't do it, but each of these assets was animated in a separate comp, and then just brought in here, attached to some nulls. The little grid guys here are just wave warp for turbulent displays. I can't actually remember which. Simple tunnels, wiggly wigglies.
The brush strokes were basically just masked with some texture onto a trim path that revealed it. So it was pretty simple stuff there.
And for this scene, all of these guys flying by wasn't particles or anything. It was just a couple shape layers all set to reptile. And so then you just drag them over as far as you want. Those guys be bouncing and such. This is all pretty simple.
Colors.
Some parallax. This is really what just sells those scenes.
This was just a bunch of masks and gradients moving through them.
Rist says, will we see this project soon in Review's website or Behance? Probably.
We have to re-render it though.
Yes, we do. Because we need to get the actual proper opening in there.
Right.
Because said he did much more to make this scene feel a bit more alive. But
let me see if I can pull that section up.
yeah. Yeah. Some of these comps look a little scary with just the amount of layers and things, especially for this guy, because it's just I don't even know how many shapes are in here. But it actually surprisingly wasn't that difficult of a load on my computer. It chugged through this pretty easily. But anyway, that's that. Unless no one can get that pulled up, easy peasy.
I have it, but it's so big that it doesn't load. I'm gonna open it with Google Drive and see.
Vinicius says the arrow looks edible. I kind of want to chew it.
That's right. I strive to make the things I make look yummy. Are
there any other weird quirks about the process on this one?
Other than the like sexual scenes.
So sexual. Andrew says, how difficult do you find it to critique or review your own work when in the middle of it? Do you have a process? I find I get completely blind to my own work, particularly big projects. For us, it's easy enough to, I mean, when we go do this, when we get a board finished, each person at a certain, or at some point in the process is probably latched onto one of these motion scripts a bit more than the others, and they'll kind of take ownership of that scene, of that section. So like, said he wanted this first bit. I wanted this second bit. Sam wanted this bit, and then Barbara, and so on. So, you know, there's those splits. And at the point where we start animating on these things, and I mean, even in the design phase of these things after we've got that motion script, we're kind of siloed off. We will each go off and venture off into our own Illustrator and After Effects and then make what we think is the best pass of that scene. And we'll show that to each other. And we're all very candid about like, that's not looking great, dude. What? So by doing that, it's kind of like we're all clients of each other, I guess. And so we just segment it off that way. And that leaves plenty of room for the other 5 or 6 people on the team to tell you, that doesn't look like quite right. Did you think about maybe doing this? Or, you know, like that internal feedback just kind of happens naturally. Right. We don't really have to rely on ourselves as much. But also, for Noah and I, anyway, we've been doing this long enough anyway to where like we know what our standards are and what the client's standards are, and so it's pretty easy to just kind of knock it out, regardless of whatever imposter syndrome we might have felt in the past. I just don't really feel that all that much anymore.
Also, these projects last like a while, so it's, you know, like sometimes it's good to come back to your work the next day. We have many days to do that. So coming back to a scene maybe that you worked on yesterday and you're like, okay, so here's what feels wrong when I was getting stuck yesterday. I mean, we have opportunity to do that, and we have team members to tell us, hey, that looks rank. So we have plenty of opportunity to do that.
And also, with this client in particular, we have an open Slack channel where we're just constantly sending screen recordings and whatever else we want. So it's a very open, there's no like, oh no, is the client going to like it? I hope so, because we're just already sending them stuff, and they're very open with us about what they're thinking, you know? So we don't have to wait for like a big scary review or anything if we're just always talking with them, you know?
The big scary review consists of, so as per my last Slack message, and it's like, yeah, okay, got it, thanks. It's no biggie. Sometimes it's like from the larger team, and you're like, okay, and you just chat through it with them, and it's no thing. Be friends with your clients, y'all. It's nice.
Dude, I swear my phone is listening to me.
Yeah?
I made a vlog clip about how we're talking with our tax guys today about, you know what, because they're being silly. I have received 4 payroll service provider messages this morning.
I found a fun TikTok account that I followed yesterday, and then later that day, the same account was suggested for me on Instagram, and I was like,
That is
no,
so weird.
absolutely
That's
not. And it's
weird,
extra
dude.
weird because it's shit I would not normally see, but like TikTok serves you crazy stuff,
Yeah.
but Instagram usually like kind of just shows you the stuff that's related to the people you follow and stuff.
Right.
And it was just like, here you go. Here's the person that you were just looking at on TikTok. I'm like, absolutely not.
Like, wait, how the
Don't you guys
hell?
hate each other? Aren't you competing? What is this?
I don't know. Hamza says, what platform do you guys use to communicate with clients? Slack for Keller Williams, but we use, depending on the client, it's email, Discord, Slack, or text. It really depends. But whatever
This
is
the usuals.
whatever they prefer and is easiest for everybody, it doesn't really matter. And then
We are tech boys. We can message on any platform.
Coilures says, do you guys make the shapes in Adobe Illustrator? Yes, typically.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the style frames had some Photoshop work on them.
To which I say, grrr,
That's
grrr,
fine.
at
You
that.
can say grr. Grr away. What's up, grr?
Anyway. Cool. Shall we jump into some crits?
Shall we ever?
Let's watch the video one more time to give it its due.
Oh, I
due
put the
time.
link in the Discord for you, for MSETI section.
Oh. Okay. Is it like already rendered out or?
It's the Google Drive link.
Ah, okay. Here we go. Here is Mseti's proper scene. Yeah, he made the paths feel a little bit more like they were
Alive.
actually moving in Z space, you know?
I think that's the most recent one.
Olgerd says, did you have a hard time incorporating brand elements like the textured arrows that's what I was going to talk about. Sorry. Last scene with the logo and arrow feels like a different style. So they were very specific in that the last scene had to look the way that it did because they already had designed that,
They
on their end.
transitioned into
So-
the yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, it was hard to incorporate the brand elements. At first, as you can see in some of these boards, we were very clearly, trying to put some of those, besides this first bit, we were very much trying to put those elements into each scene, however we could. But on their end, they were like, guys, these scenes look really cool. Don't feel like you have to force them in there, you know? Like, we have enough trust built up with them at this point to where they were kind of like, I don't know, like, we need them at the end, and like maybe there's some other places we can put them, but really don't worry about it. Just make something that we can show off and that feels cool. And of course, you know, we know how to not stray too far from their brand and whatever, so we were still keeping the colors generally similar and all that sort of stuff. But and in the beginning, yes, it was a little bit difficult. That's how we ended up getting some scenes like this that we didn't quite like, because we were too focused on trying to put in like, these are their elements, we got to use them. But we had a very open conversation with them and they were just like, hey, do your thing, you know, don't worry about it. Which not
That's
everybody
where
will do
the-
that.
That's where the fire came from as well.
Yeah.
This is an effort to put that sort of painterly style in there as a centerpiece. And it kind of made it in via the hero. And so I feel like that helped unify some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the hero that we ended up going with is literally just the same thing, but without the fire on it. So it's, you know, we add some rough edges and whatever, and it looked pretty similar. Olgerd said, or no, that's the same thing. Coilors says, how do you give the shapes that shiny look? Hashtag gradients or hashtag deep glow. That's it.
Just use of gradients.
Yep. We use gradients as lighting most of the time as opposed to just as elements. Anyway. All right. Let's
Give me something to critique.
Well, let's watch the video one more time and then we'll do that.
Bum, 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 bum.
We didn't even get sound design on this one. I forgot. We just animated to that track so well. Like the little shimmers were already built into the track, and so were all the clangs and bonks and whatever, you know? I forgot that we didn't even do one of those passes.
All the clangs and bonks,
All the
baby.
clangs and bonks. Well,
we should get a little bit of sound design, a little bit of replacing him city scene, have that director's cut up, maybe within the month if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, we do have 3 people on the team who really love making Behance projects, so that could totally happen.
Love it.
But anyway, shall we jump into crits from your boy Vishav?
Shall we ever?
Let's see what's going on here. Called Food Lover. And you got these.
I've seen this before.
I have not.
Right? Am I crazy?
You might be. I've never seen this. What to say? Oh, okay. Kind of feel like we got the same end card twice.
No, we have seen this before.
I haven't.
I think this was one of the challenge submissions or something.
We didn't do anything food related, and we definitely weren't doing challenges in 2021. Vishav has submitted to the challenges, though. But either way, it doesn't matter. Let's critique it. All right.
Where the hell did I see this? There's a disparity in styling and detail. A lot of the keyframes are pretty linear, especially the background. I don't really understand the titles that are happening here.
I don't either. It feels like
they feel slow and strange, and also they're not in the center, or at least Food Love isn't.
The depth does not make sense here. These guys have shadows, but for some reason these guys don't on the ground.
Yeah.
And then this guy also doesn't have them. I can't tell where he is. You know?
I do love him, though.
He is fun, though.
He is my favorite.
The bending of this banana is just downright uncomfortable to me. I don't know. I almost don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't want to get demonetized.
I don't know. I feel like the concept here wasn't fully developed.
No, I just overall, I'm kind of confused and don't really know what to critique. Like, what are these guys doing over here? They're just watching?
You're also mixing this, like, very flat style, which isn't necessarily a problem, but it just feels a little inconsistent that you're mixing this very flat style with these sort of edge gradients on a lot of these shapes, but, like, here on the fries, they don't really come through super well, but on something like the apple, or at least its leaves, it does very strongly.
But then
and then
also get
that is not reflected in the like background,
really
the bottom background section.
Concentrated detail back here too with all these stars.
And then the sun appears and it doesn't like, as if there's the sun out, you won't be able to see the stars and that kind of stuff. So it feels somehow like the background itself is brighter than the sun, which is a little strange. Like the banana, you can see the gradients on the edges and stuff.
Right.
Somewhat. Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's kind of a lot going on here.
I'm just a little confused. I don't feel like I have the context for this. I said I made it for Valentine's week as a food love. It's not super crafted because I made it in 2 days only. That is
well, there you go.
Fair consideration.
That's okay.
Boom roasted.
I think if you have a little bit of time, when you're in the concepting phase, try and project ahead how much time you actually be able to spend on it, because you could just take one of these scenes, like the banana, and really make it about him. You know, do something a little bit more specialized and honed in. Yeah. Here it kind of feels like you had a lot of things that you wanted to do, and you kind of just tried to fit them all into 2 days.
And not to mention, we already saw everything that he's doing here. at the beginning, you know? Like, we already saw all those animations. Same with the little fry guy back there. Like, I'm imagining it's just a pre-comp that's sitting there when they're all on here. But it just feels a little odd to give them all their own scene when they're already all doing this. Like, we already knew what they did, so it just kind of feels like kind of wasted screen time. But I don't know. We're moving on, though. All right. We got a show reel that was sent to me directly this morning from Ruben. And he so kindly asked for us to be honest / harsh if needed about it. So we're going to boom roast the fuck out of this if we can. Right.
Fantastic.
Here we go. It's 57 seconds. I'm going to be watching to see where my attention is lost, if it is.
I think I've seen this one before.
Put the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
As per usual, 45-second mark. That's where I thought it was going to stop, and it didn't. Second thing. Oh, man. Why'd you save all the good stuff for the end?
Like,
I mean, I've seen Ruben's work before, and we've wrecked it on the show. He also has been doing a huge press tour with that Pokeball thing that we showed. The Pokemon pinball has been going crazy on good moves and all this other stuff.
It's cool, man.
There is just the stuff at the beginning doesn't feel like. I mean, this is 5 seconds that you could probably be using for something else. This feels fine. It does feel like it goes on for a little long.
It goes on for long.
The stuff that really stands out on a timeline that comes from you is the cell stuff, you know, and it looks stuff and really stylized and interesting. But you save it till the very end. Or even towards the middle, that's the stuff that stands out way more than this stuff necessarily.
What's
especially
interesting,
not this thing. This does not.
I don't like the scene where there's a woman biking. I think you can just take that one out.
Oh yeah. I don't.
There's a lot of.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's these two. Just kind of feel cheap in comparison to the other ones that you have on.
As
here.
I was watching, I was considering when my attention was waning, and what you did, I don't know if this was purposeful or not, but you put work that my attention was waning on, and then right after it, you put something very flashy, and I was like, oh, I'm back in it, and it did that like 3 or 4 or 5 times, and I thought that was very interesting. A lot of these you can cut sooner, you can speed up your work. And I also encourage you to go into the actual audio and edit that. Yep. The section at the end that has those high squeaky noises, I guess, that feels a little long. And then it goes into this section that's very fast paced. And then those cuts can be a lot quick. You can even show stuff that you showed before as a sort of wrap up. This section right here, you could put some of those full kind of clips earlier, take out some of the slower stuff, and then maybe just use those as even shorter clips at the end to just go bang, 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 bang through stuff. You can repeat stuff. You can cut stuff sooner. Yep. I know that's kind of a lot to just throw at you, but those are generally the things I would do. That baseball scene, his swing could be cut off a little sooner.
You could just cut to the next scene as soon as he hits it. You don't even need to show the rest of the swing. Use that as a magic element for you.
Exactly.
Honestly, most of these first couple shots, especially, you could cut them in half or more. They're
and when you cut stuff in half, you did this before. You did this with Blastoise and stuff. You cut it and then you use some of the rest of it later. to be like, oh, remember this? We're doing more cool stuff with that now. And you
Yeah.
do that a couple times with these things. I just think that those could also be cut in half. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's easy, I think, to get caught into like I spent a lot of time on this, so I want people to fully see it and appreciate it. But unfortunately, that's not what a reel is for. It's to kind of blow people's minds and be like, oh, this guy can do so much. Not
Like, I want
necessarily
more.
appreciate each individual thing. You don't really want to give them time to appreciate each individual thing. You
Because
want
that's
to
when they're
not
supposed to
give
watch
them
the whole
time
piece.
because they want to like be like, oh, I want to go see and appreciate that whole thing because that thing really interests me. But you
Right.
want to just give them just enough to get there and be like, oh, I really want to see the rest of that, rather than be like, okay, I kind of get this.
And now
Which
I'm
I think
not.
a lot of people are like, oh, I want to have my reel be like, oh, I kind of get each piece, and that's not exactly how I think a reel should function.
Now I'm not trying to say to only show your cell work either. In that comment I made earlier, but like especially these two scenes. I mean, you can just like look at them back to back. Like, look at this one. Look at these guys. Look at these. Like they look very refined, and
very cool.
you would pay good money for that.
Mhm.
These truly look like they could just be something off of like 99% of the reels we got from hiring. You know, like really old, like 2016 type stuff. You know. It just doesn't show the quality that I know you can do. So, you know,
Let yourself just put your best stuff. You don't have to put everything. You don't have to
Yeah.
show that you're super, that you have all the variety in the world. You could just put the stuff that you're proud of and that you want to do more of. That's
like
perfectly fine. It's encouraged.
almost every shot in our reel is an orb. Not intentionally. It's just those were some of our favorite shots from the year, and that was it. Truly, like everybody else in chat is saying, you could get this down to 30 seconds easily, and it would feel like an absolutely insane reel. It would feel phenomenal. Cut this beginning part down. Now, I know that we have a Motion Reel 2023 thing in our reel, and I'm kind of regretting putting that in there. But I feel like you could absolutely just go from here when it zooms in to this scene. You don't need this bit in here at all.
That's true.
It just lasts a little bit longer than I feel like it should, and you know it's already going to be on the title of the Vimeo link and whatever anyway, so they're already going to see that. But it is also a place to be able to show some type and whatever. But I don't know.
I will say I do think the intro is a little long, but I will also say I really like the intro, and your logo is really fun. And it's very recognizable, so good job on that. And then the end card doesn't quite match that quality. You could take that like that wavy texture and stuff and cut it out from the beginning and just put it at the end.
Agreed. Ends on a little bit more of a high note.
And then you're like, ooh, fancy end thing. And then it's more consistent.
Yeah. Agreed.
Boom, roasted. I hope that was really helpful.
Roast.
If you make a recut of it and use any of that advice, please link it and we'll go over it again.
Boom. Roasted. Thank you, Ruben.
Boom. Hell yeah.
Now we have this one. Looks oddly familiar, if I do say so myself. Here it is, I believe. Yes.
I noticed that
you
you're
gotta
paying
animate the gradients on these. Gotta do it.
I noticed that you're paying attention to the lighting on the orb, which I appreciate. And as it moves, it changes. So,
But it doesn't here. This whole scene, it's just kind of sitting there. I don't quite understand.
it does there. It just doesn't very much.
Like
and
this
when
this
it
just
when
doesn't
it
make
gets
sense.
smaller, like move it off as opposed to just moving that one handle to make it small because that looks a little strange.
Yeah. Instead of doing just one radial gradient on this, where you have the white to blue, the dark, and then this guy, duplicate your radial gradient and have this same type of arc that's up here down at the bottom in blue. That makes a lot more sense because like the light down here is not going to be a pinpoint on this thing and then just have these edges be dark. It would light the same way that it's lit up here.
Yeah, it's just less.
Right.
Mhm.
Text is really throwing me off at the end because you don't use white anywhere else, really. So it feels very, very stark.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel as integrated into the content.
I like the little bouncy scene and the reactive lights on the ball. I appreciate that. I think that's kind of fun. You could even like let the ball flash, let it have more fun with it, dare I say. This scene right at the end especially feels a little slow. Yeah. There's clearly a lot of inspiration taken here,
Yeah.
but it's not bad. I don't really have much else to say. Anything else for you, Austin?
Yes. Generally, when you've got when you start on this scene, you've got this kind of moving in. There feels like there's some perspective here. Like there's things going beyond the borders. You can tell that it's like a bigger world. But then whenever it lands here, this is all just sitting static. You know, it'd be cool to have this also kind of like sliding up into frame ever so slightly throughout the whole scene, just so it doesn't feel like this is so stuck down there. You know. Because then it makes that match cut a little bit more difficult to pull off because nothing else is moving except for that ball, you know? Boom roasted.
Boom roasted.
Last one to critique today. Another motion reel. I'm gonna need that text to be behind that ball. Quality of the work aside, this is a good reel because despite the work if I was just critiquing the work on its own, I'd have a lot more to say, but despite the work not being quite up to par, it feels a lot better than it would because of how you've cut the reel. You are not letting me look at anything for too long. You're just letting me get enough of a glimpse, and also gives me hope that like even though the design on some of these things might not be great, maybe your motion is better. You know, because I'm like, well, he was able to cut this reel like this, so you know. Anyway, more general feedback. If you have this ball like wiping away this type, I feel like it should probably be in front of the text, not behind it, but I don't know. That's more of a stylistic thing. Love the fast cuts on that stuff at the beginning because it's like, oh, I get to see lots of stuff this time. You know? A lot of the actual work, though, is very like, why is all of this so blurry?
There's a lot of blurry things.
You know,
there's also like a pamphlet thing that is blurry right here.
Like we can't tell what that. Like you should probably show the thing in its actual design rather than blurring it all out. But I don't know. Really strong chromatic aberration on that thing.
You know,
there's a lot going on there. Also,
that end logo animation doesn't fully translate.
So linear. It's so linear. It's like
you can
give it some personality. You
know?
Give it a little personality.
I guess one other little tip is to
this ball bouncing at the beginning makes no fucking sense. I don't understand the physics at all.
You gotta eat this stuff, my guy.
It does not work.
I think you did it good at the beginning. Pay attention to how each clip is going into each other, and you can zoom in and add a little bit of motion if you wanted to transition. But generally, I think you did a good job of that.
Also, can we just for a second? This is for Duracell. Never in my life would I ever expect Duracell to actually have something that looks like this. This is just what is going on here with the quality is these 3D models. Come on. I mean, this is like something you'd see out of some like motion test from a Pixar movie from the late 90s. What's happening here? What is this? There's got to be something better that you could be showing there. I don't know. It's just like you got really clean lines and whatever in your own branding and stuff, but then the actual work is like blurry or kind of strangely textured or has just really odd quirks to the models and things. I
There's
just
a lot
don't
going on.
I just don't quite understand. I just don't quite get it. Anyway, boom roasted because we got to get to our Rex and then get on out of here.
Sure.
I'll do my Rex first since I got it pulled up. Boom! First Rex. Austin Curzon posted this 22 hours ago.
That's pretty cute.
Love the perspective in each of these shots. It's really fun. I'll let it play one more time. He's so sad. He's so sad. All his planets got stolen.
I also love the caption.
That perspective just looks so great. I love that.
I love that scene.
It feels so big and vast. It's just cute. It's a fun time. I love it.
Such a good
I
time,
love it.
man.
I
Good
love
job, Austin.
Also, he has the same name as me, so thank you, Noah. Thank
Sometimes
you.
he streams even.
Sometimes he does stream even. He hasn't done that in a long time though.
Maybe wrong kind of plug, but do go follow him on Instagram. He's a fun fella, my guy.
True facts. Second
Makes
rec
some fun stuff.
from AB.
AB.
Don't know if this is the same AB or not, but I think it is. Anyway, fun little warpy guys. Look
Love
at
'em.
them.
They're
Look
so
at them.
pretty.
They're so cool.
Look at them go. They're so warpy. I think this was done with time displacement and mirrors and stuff. He says something about it in the caption.
And it's
Cool stuff.
party. It's fun.
I'm loving them.
Mainly using time displacement.
Yeah, that's
Pretty.
very cool.
Pretty.
He knows how to use that time displacement though.
It's a good time. Boom. Loved it.
Boom, loved it.
On to
had a great
Noah's
time.
Rex.
This is a lovely one by Mellow Studio. It's
Oh, I need
a
to
while,
pull up
so
the
we're not gonna watch the whole thing, but we're gonna watch some of it.
Go for it.
This is our world, our cosmos. This is where we live, where we create.
That is a lot.
I
All
know.
these colors
Some
that
fun
Ray
little-
gave us. We feel so
It's
much
interesting.
love for the cosmos. We had to find a way to give some of it back. That's why we measured in depth the carbon footprint and environmental impact for 3 of our major color lines. And we decided to eliminate it. We invested in renewable power sources and in recycled and recyclable packaging materials. We also helped finance
Some really
6
fun blending
international
of
projects
styles in this
dedicated
one.
to reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Some
This
scenes I
way,
just don't know
Easy
how they
Wax,
did.
Chalk Effect, and Spray Bike become the first color lines in the world that have been certified as carbon neutral.
That's
And
cool.
by the end of 2023,
cool product, too.
all of our color lines at Cosmos will be carbon neutral, so that we can all leave our mark in this world without stigmatizing the planet.
Okay, we accidentally watched the full thing 'cause it was fun.
Innovation. From Cosmos to our Cosmos.
That's
With
good.
love.
That's a good
I
video
think
right
that's
there.
just fun, man.
That's a good video
Ah,
right there.
I love that it's very like, it's a creative company, the Cosmos Lac or whatever, doing spray paint, of course. So I'm sure they wanted a lot of creativity to be
and-
expressed, and so they chose to do that with a lot of styles, and they used the spray paint texture a lot, and I think they did a darn good job of it.
It's a
Some
good
really
time.
fun scenes in there. So yeah, those are the Rex.
Boom.
Them's the
This
shows.
is our-
Them's the Rex. That's
the Rex,
it.
them's the show.
Them's the Rex. I hope you guys enjoyed Noah and I both being in sunglass mode today, except for when mine sunglasses wouldn't let me see what was on my monitor. So now my eyes are naked, but it's
Had to
okay.
do a little bit of looking over them.
Anyway, thanks for hanging, y'all. Be sure to use hashtag
Hey,
Daily Motion
users.
Show, Daily Motion Show. That is where we actually got, I got 2 of the Recs that are in my rec list for the moment. So you'll see another one tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
And don't forget to submit. Link in the description for your roasted.
if you want to
I mean,
get
your
boom,
roasted to
hashtag
get
boom
boom roasted.
roasted, it's in the description. It's a Google form. It's easy peasy. Fill it out, and we'll critique it within the next couple of shows. It'll be good.
That's right.
Daily Motion Show says, Austin, can you say to Jackson, speed the vlog? Oh, dude, you're gonna get like 4 or 5 videos from that retreat. Don't you worry. Jackson says, I will speed the vlog. Okay, great.
Oh, guard says me with no easing moment. So I appreciate that comment.
Absolutely. All
There
right.
it is.
Well, that's it, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. Get out of here. Peace. Goodbye. Grr. All right, there we go. We had almost 30 that time.